big business here at Shelsley.
Good afternoon from the Team Valley here in Worcestershire. Thank you for joining us for our Shelsley Walsh live stream. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. We had a whole host of people watching from far-flung places the last time we did our live stream, which was a couple of weeks ago. We went as far afield as Singapore to Australia, America, Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, even on a yacht off the Scilly Isles. But we've got some more action for you here this weekend at Shelsley, and it's going to be underway in a few moments' time. A beautiful leafy view down towards the Team Valley is a perfect view for some of the Midland Automobile Club members who we welcome here this afternoon. It's been a difficult summer for everybody the world over, but it's the first time that we've got spectators here at Shelsley today. We will also have our MAC members able to visit tomorrow, and we look forward to showing them some very quick action indeed through not only their viewing areas up and down the hill, but also through this YouTube Shelsley Walsh live stream. And without further ado, we've got our first car leaving the line. This is David Meek. David Meek leaves the line, goes up towards Kennel Bend. The 1,000-yard hill is his with his Mazda MX-5. We've got our cameras positioned all the way up the hill, including a new camera right on the finish line that some of you may not be aware of, but it's going to be something new for this afternoon. David Meek comes through the top S. He goes up towards the finishing straight, a perfect view for a driver as he accelerates hard. And there is our new camera angle, and as he breaks beam, he does it in 39.87 seconds, I can tell you, 39.87. Dave Warner on the hill with his Renault Clio. Quick 2-litre car. Always giving so many people so much fun watching in the Renault Clio Cup race that follows the British Touring Car Championship around the UK. So Dave Warner gets to the top of the hill in a 37.65. Tony Adams on the hill already with his Lotus. The Lotus makes his way into bottom S at a speed of, I can tell you, 85 miles an hour. 85 miles an hour for Tony Adams. He's going towards the top of the hill. We'll sort the graphics out in a moment's time, but I can keep you fully abreast of the times that they're doing, because Tony Adams did a 35.82. Richard Brandt coming towards our camera into bottom S. Understeer on the exit there. Little bits of drive as he makes his way out of top S. And Richard Brandt, the time ticking away, and it stops at a 34.66, 83 miles an hour as he crosses the finish line. Now Ross McDonald is on his way now in this beautiful Porsche. Car number 23, it's a 911 3-litre. Sounds right, looks good, goes well, and he's going through the top left-hander at a speed of 77 miles an hour. Just a little bit slower, to the tune of 8 miles an hour, slower than Brandt and Adams, the 2 cars in front of him. But he's doing well, he's making progress, he's going up towards the finish. Time he's got to beat is about a 34. Oh, it's a 36.36. 88 miles an hour for him crossing the line. Next up, we've got Stephen Mogg in the TVR Griffith 500. Big car, big noise, big V8s, and it goes well here at Shelsley. He's going up with the roof up, but a very nice car to drift around the Worcestershire country lanes if you've got the roof down. Sounds good, goes well, lots of torque. A little bit of a delay whilst we sort something out on the hill, but we'll be in order in no time at all. Do keep your comments coming in through our YouTube channel. We can see them here at Shelsley. For example, Jonathan Webster is watching from Congleton in Cheshire. Good afternoon to you, Jonathan. And Ian Holmes is watching whilst having breakfast in Minnesota, the Viking state. What a great way to start the day. I love that finish line camera. We do as well, Ian. In the meantime, Stephen Mogg with the TVR Griffith gets on his way. He's going up through the top left-hander at a speed of 88 miles an hour, the quickest that we've had so far this afternoon. Through the S's, over the drain. Nice tight line through that top S, lets it drift over to the left-hand side. Then he's just got that tunnel vision up towards the finish line, and he crosses it at 95 miles an hour, does a time of 34.28. 34.28 for Stephen Mogg and the TVR. John Pick now with the AMS Mataya. Turbocharged car, all whistle and pop and wastegate. Attacks crossing well. The corner opens out for these drivers. It's a blind corner when you're actually down there on the tarmac. You can't see from that camera angle how difficult it is. Tight line on the exit of the bottom S, and likewise lets it drift over to the left-hand side on the exit of the top S. John Pick gets to the top of the hill, 34.14, 88 miles an hour over the line. Okay, more V8 grumble. This time it's Andy Fraser with the Aston Martin Vantage, a GT4 car. So many GT3 cars, of course, up and down the country and indeed the world, but it's a GT4 car, just a better spec obviously than the road car, but slightly lower spec than a GT3 car or even a GTE Pro category car, as is in the WEC. They're racing at Spa at the moment and they're having a good race. Time for Fraser, 34.66, 97 over the line. Nigel Elliott on his way with the TR7 V8. Big handful of car, fills the road, short wheelbase. It's wanting to weave a little on the way into the corner, but he keeps it all together, handles it well. Again, gets towards that dirt on the exit of top S, and he goes across the finish at 107, 32.07. It is for Nigel Elliott. Okay, another 911. This time it's Paul Howells. We've got a couple of 911s in short order here. Paul Howells, light car, this 911 RSR, big wide stance. It's quick off the line. It did 2.4 seconds in the first 64 feet. That's the quickest we've had off the start so far this afternoon live here from Shelsley. Howells hustles it in. It's already out of top S and away. He's going to ton as he crosses the line. He does 102, 31.19, quickest so far. But Helen Evans in her shared Porsche 911 Carrera is on her way. And this is a car to keep an eye out for when we see Andrew Norris go up in the next batch. Shared car. Helen tips it into bottom S. Little bit slow. Was she looking for gears there? Just kisses the drain cover on the inside of top S, and she's away and going up towards the finish. Next car has already left the line as Helen crosses the top, 39.09. Richard Price away with the Caterham 7. The Caterham 7 coming towards us into the bottom S, quick lock up the inside front. Gets it all together. And this surely is going to be knocking on a 29. It is 29.82, quickest so far today. 29.82, 102 miles an hour when he crossed the finish line. As we now go to Down Gumley. Down Gumley sharing this Radical with Paul Jones. First time he's driving it this weekend, I believe. But Gummers knows all about hill climbing. He's driven in the single-seater class with the 1100s and the 1600s. He's had a Force, an Empire, and he's gone back to a Force at the moment, but here he is now in the Radical. It's a kind of 7/10 scale Le Mans car from about 2004, 5, 6, isn't it? With the open top. It's not a full coupe, but light, lots of downforce, and very agile as well. Gummers, 32.05, 95 miles an hour over the line. Adam Green leaves the line now in his Empire Evo 00 series. This will be a good run. He'll be flat all the way to bottom S, Will Greenan. goes through the top left-hander at 108 miles an hour. Nice wide line into the bottom S, gets it through the S's and gets the power on as he comes out back into the sunshine, and he's going to be doing a 27.46. 27.46. Quickest today in practice was Trevor Willis with a 25.71. Mark Lawrence now on his way with the OMS. Sharing it with Harry Pick. This is a former Midland hill climb champion that you're looking at here in the shape of Lawrence. 106 miles an hour for the 1000cc engine OMS into bottom S. Through the S's. He's a little bit quicker through the S's than Adam Greenan, to the tune of 0.3 of a second, and over the line he's just a little bit slower. 27.83. 27.83, 106 miles an hour over the line. Next up, we've got another dual-driven car. This is in the shape of the Van Diemen. This should be Nicola Dearden. Indeed it is. Car number 767, Class J1. She leaves the line with the Formula Ford. It's a class of 3 with Les Buck and also Andrew Henson, who will be competing against Nicola. A lot of people started their hill climbing in these smaller capacity Formula Fords. They're cheap, they're easy to run, but you do gain an awful lot of experience. So Dearden makes her way through the S's. She does that now, and she is on her way. In the meantime, top right of your screen, we can see Alan Warburton leaving the start. Dearden gets to the top of the hill, 37.4. Warburton on his way. He's already through crossing. He's already coming up towards the top of the middle straight, as he wanted to call it that, and he does that at 114 miles an hour. Warburton already out of top S. Got the power down, needs to do a 26, and he does a 26.33, so that's quickest this afternoon for Alan Warburton. 26.33 for Warburton, and the next best that we saw there was a 27.46 from Adam Greenan. A 27.46 from Adam Greenan. So that's the end of our first batch that we have had there. Quick view down there on the paddock. You can see drivers preparing. I can see on the left-hand side that's Clive Austin's car. Chris Aspinall probably just strapping him in. And then over towards the right-hand side, the other single-seaters, I can see a nose of the now pale green Works OMS of Lynn and Steve Owen, and then the burgundy coloured Gould poking its nose out. But in the meantime, I can see Graham Lokes coming towards the line with his Lola. So that's the end of a batch here at Shelsley. We hope that you are tuning in from all over the world, wherever you may be. Messages on Twitter from people watching in Germany, telling their German colleagues to watch. So, wie geht's? Alles glatt. Clive Austin just coming out of his garage with an addition to his crash helmet. Send your messages in. We do see them here at Shelsley. Tanya Brown. Finish line camera is a great addition. Looking forward to seeing the fast cars cross the line. Well, Tanya, the fast boys and the fast girls. Come on, come on. You should know better than that, Tanya. We've got some fast girls here today, particularly in the shape of Lindsay Summers and Debbie Dunbar in their single-seaters. So we'll keep an eye out for those two when we get to it, as these cars return down the hill. And as I said a moment ago, Ian Holmes watching from Minnesota. What a great way to start his day. Love that finish line camera. Well, it's 1:30 in the afternoon here, Ian, in the midst of Worcestershire. but I hope that it is a nice warm morning for you in Minnesota. So I hope everything is all good and well. So thank you for sending in your messages. And Adrian Passman, can you get an online program of who is racing? Yes, if you go to shelsleywalsh.com and you click down on competition from the top of your screen, and then there are 6 boxes, and it's the middle of the bottom line, and it says entries and results, and there's an entry list in there for today's date. So you can have an online program through our website. So do send your messages in through particularly our YouTube channel, how you're watching this, and we will be able to see them. We've got another meeting here at Shelsley on the 29th and 30th of August, the bank holiday weekend. It's a new meeting that we have managed to fit into the tight schedule of a busy motorsport summer in the UK. Entries are still open. We have a special tin top 10 on Saturday the 29th of August. And well, if you've got a quick road car or a quick car that's got a roof, maybe you'll get into that tin top 10 on that Saturday afternoon. It'll be great to see you. I think Stephen Darley is entered in that Subaru Legacy that we saw here 3 weeks ago. That'll be knocking on the door of maybe getting on the top 3 steps of that podium. Of that there will be no doubt. We've also got a Harvest Festival meeting on the 12th and 13th of September. That is another new meeting that we have managed to slot into the schedule, and then a week after we've got our regular, in inverted commas, our regular autumn finale on the 19th and the 20th of September. So entries are all open, so if you've got a car, do let us know through our website. Go to entries and competition and you can find your way around there. We get all of our entries through the online portal nowadays, so everybody can be immediately in touch with the office and get entered. Our second batch this afternoon about to get underway here live from Shelsley Walsh. This is going to be Andrew Burt with the Malak Mark 32. Andrew Burt, the Malak with the headlights. Oh, he makes a terrible start. He has to take 2 bites of the cherry, and that's why the first 64 feet is a not very impressive 3.55 seconds. He's vaguely got it getting into his stride now, but he'll know that his run has been somewhat compromised with a very tight line that he did manage to take as he came through crossing up towards the bottom S at 78 miles an hour. Through the S's and away. No problem, hopefully, for him between there and the top of the hill. You can see that Graham Lokes has left the line as Burt does a 37.79. Graham Lokes on his way, already coming out of kennel with this evergreen but beautifully coloured martini striped Lola. It's a T492 with a 3.2 litre Porsche flat 6 in the back of it. 83 on S approach for Graham Lokes. Through the S's, his split time is a 10.13. We'll see a few 7-second runs through there today. Lokes' time, 33.13. Tom Price now with this Caterham Hayabusa. A little bit bigger than the standard Hayabusa at 1441cc. Standard Booster's 1341. Price squealing, running out of road. He just gets it turned in. Does it well through the S's though after braking from 102 miles an hour. Time though for Price when he gets to the top of the hill is a 29.2. That's a good run, that 29.2, 103 miles an hour when he crossed the line. That is a very good run indeed for that kind of car. As we catch back up with the Radical SR3, 1500cc motorcycle engine mounted in the back of this. We saw it go up with Darren Gumley a moment ago, but this time it's Paul Jones. Jones coming up towards Crossing Bend, bathed in sunshine, using all the aero, flat chat through the top left-hander. He goes through there at 93 miles an hour. He's a bit quicker than Gummers at the moment to the bottom S. He's quicker than Gummers through the S's. And at the finish line, Paul Jones does a time of 31.43 compared with Darren Gumley's 32.05. Tim Painter now on the line with the Aston Martin Vantage, the GT4. It's a 4.3 litre V8. Piles of smoke coming off those rear tyres as he lets the clutch in. Now goes up towards Kennel Bend. It opens out on the exit. You need to use all the road, and likewise the blind entry into crossing. It opens out for these drivers here at Shelsley through the top left-hander at a speed of 76 miles an hour. Into the S's, purring, growling, burbling its way through underneath the trees. He comes back out into the sunshine. Painter gets to the top of the hill, 34.84. 34.84. Now here's Andrew Norris, ladies and gentlemen. This will be a good run. 1.96 in the first 64 feet. This car, he does whisper it, it's been specifically made and engineered just for Shelsley Walsh. S approach 90 miles an hour for Andrew Norris in this 3.3 litre Porsche Carrera Supercharge. Flings it into top S, uses all the road on the exit. Time for Norris ticking away. Look at him as he crosses the finish line at 101 miles an hour, 31.88 seconds. Good run, 31.88 seconds. Now we are going to go to our single-seaters. This is the Jedi of Mark Slater, car number 56. There is an entry form on our ShelsleyWalsh.com website. If you go under competition, it's in there under entry lists and results. Mark Slater leaves the line with the 1 litre Jedi. 2.5 for the first 64 feet. Little bit reticent through Kennel, but that confidence will come. Go up a gear. Now get the power on. Now you can see the hill open in front of you after crossing. Goes up towards the S's at 73 miles an hour. Andy Greenan is about to leave the line at the bottom of the hill with the Empire Evo. As Slater makes his way towards the top, here is Greenan. This will be a good run. Does the first 64 feet in 2.2 seconds. It'll be flat all the way. Kennel, now he comes up to crossing. Goes through crossing, just 10.29 seconds there. S approach, 108 miles an hour. Brakes hard, goes down a few gears, gives it a jab of power. Wide line through the top S, uses all the road on the exit. Going to be doing... What is it going to be? 26, 27, it's a 26.76, 104 miles an hour as he crosses the line. 26.76, they're getting quicker. Now then, here is Clive Austin with the Empire Wraith, the first of these Empire Wraith chassis that was built by Bill Chaplin. I went and collected the tub of this car from the carbon fibre people before we put it in the van near Banbury, and then it all of a sudden turned into a hill climb car. Clive Austin on his way towards the top at 102 miles an hour. That perfect view of the Team Valley from bottom S gives it a big jab of pad as Clive goes out of top S, goes towards the finish line, and he's going to stop the clocks. 29.02, 29.02, 105 miles an hour when Clive Austin crossed the line. Next up, we have got Harry Pick with the OMS. We saw Mark Lawrence drive it just a moment ago, but Pick at the wheel. Harry Pick leaves the line, and he leaves it in 2.12 seconds. They're getting quicker. Clive Austin did a 2.04, so there's a big target for people to aim for. Pick already through the top left-hander at 107 miles an hour for an 1100. Chucks it into the S's, through the left, through the right. Now he's got the finish straight opening up in front of him. Harry Pick's time stops. 26.73, 106 miles an hour over the line. 26.73 seconds. That's 0.03 of a second quicker than Andy Greenan a moment ago. Debbie Dunbar leaves the line. She was best time of day here at Shelsley a couple of years ago. She's in the DJ Firehawk, an 1100cc single-seater. She's getting quicker and quicker year on year. 1.99 seconds she did for the first 64 feet. Already into the S's. at that 108 miles an hour. Now she can really unleash the power of the car. She wants to do a 28. It is a 28.16. 28.16, 108 miles an hour over the line for Debbie Dunbar. Les Buck leaves the line with the Pringlet Mistral. Well, the Mistral straights from Paul Ricard. A little bit of it in spirit here today in Shelsley. Les Buck, a regular hill climber, on his way up 78 miles an hour. 78 miles an hour. Through the S's, one way then the other, no problem at all. Textbook stuff, and he's on his way towards the top of the hill. The time will stop for Les Buck at a 36.34. Andrew Henson with the 1600cc Van Diemen, 2.69 seconds for the first 64 feet. But now he's got into his stride. It's all about momentum with these Van Diemens, with these Formula Fords. It's all about keeping that speed for as long as possible. 85 miles an hour on S approach. No problem for him towards the top of the hill as Rob Anscombe leaves the line in 2.27 seconds. Through Kennel, 7.07, good run. Now he's got this crossing bend, nice and tidy, middle of the road. Goes up towards the top left-hander. He goes through the speed trap there at 93 miles an hour. A little bit too tight on the way into bottom S, but he's perfect round the top S. Uses all the road on the exit of the top S. Nice line. Needs to do a 29. That's his target. Stop the clock. Not quite. 30.61, but he's getting towards his personal best. John Stockley leaves the line with the Force 1600. And he leaves it in 2.28 seconds, up towards the crossing bend. Speed is his friend, momentum is even more of his friend at 101 miles an hour on S approach. No problem there. Tidy through the S's, gives the drain cover a big wide berth. And he gets towards the top of the hill and he stops the clocks at 29.51. This will be a good run, ladies and gentlemen. It's Einon Price in the Force 1600. 1.87 for the first 64 feet. Already through crossing, up towards the top left-hander. He goes through the trap at 107 miles an hour. Into the S's, he'll fling it in, the former rally driver. Nice tight through the top S. Building speed, 26, is it? It's a 27.26, 27.26. For Einon Price. So Harry Pick, by my reckoning, quickest at the moment. Price did 107 miles an hour over the line. I remind you that quickest in practice this morning was Trevor Willis with a 25.71. David Warburton on the line. He was victorious here at Shelsley last weekend in this Gould GR59. 1.98 seconds for the first 64 feet. He's certainly got his eye in at Shelsley this year. Building the speed with the 1600, 120 miles an hour on S approach through the top left-hander, looking good. Now he can unleash the power as he goes towards the top of the hill and he stops the clock at a 25.52. 25.52, that's best time of day so far for David Warburton. Well done, sir. Kevin Creven now on the hill with this 2-litre Swallow DR14. Looks like a former Formula 3 chassis. It's more of a car engine as opposed to a motorcycle-derived engine that he's got mounted in the back of this Swallow. Good line on the entry into bottom S. No problem at all through the top S, and he is away. Kevin Creven going towards the top of the hill. And the time will stop as Lynn Owen leaves the line with the new for 2020 OMS 28. It's got a V8 2.7 in the back of it. 2.2 seconds for the first 64 feet. Lynn Owen on her way up Shelsley in now our 115th year. It was Shelsley's birthday a couple of days ago on the 12th of August. So we have actually had our birthday. Lynn Owen gets towards the top, crosses the line, 29.99, 29.99. Bernard Kevill is now on the line with a similar chassis OMS. It's 2.6 litres in capacity rather than the 2.7 that we saw of Lynn Owen a moment ago. He's already quicker than her to Kennel as he's on his way through crossing. Bottoming out through the top left-hander. He goes through there at 110 miles an hour, getting quicker with this car that they've had now for a season and a bit. Kevil gets towards the top of the hill, crosses the line, 27.43. Now then, this is the all-new, for Lindsay Summers at least, DJ Firestorm with the 2.65 V8 in the back of it. Brand new engine mounted in the back, over and above the 2.5 litre V6 that the car had last year. Lindsay Summers, first drive at Shelsley with this combination. This is the engine now that revs to 13,000 revs. And there's another, I don't know, 1,000 to go or so, 1,500 to go. It sounds like something else, doesn't it, as it winds its way up and it builds the speed up towards the finish line. Time for Lindsay, 30.41, 131 miles an hour as she crossed the finish line. Told you it had the speed. We'll see Alex in that in a moment's time in our next batch. Amanda George now coming up towards crossing with the Chevron B19. Going up towards the top left-hander at 79 miles an hour. 79 miles an hour. And a red flag being given. So something's happened after the finish line. So that's the red flag, or was that a red flag because it's the end of a batch and it got ahead of itself? Let's find out. But that is the end of a batch. So whatever happens, we will have to put up the little chevron of Amanda George again, because her father's got to drive it, so we can't put them up in the same batch, so Richard's got to drive it. So yes, let us know where you're watching around the world. Let us know in the comments here on YouTube where you're watching around the world, around the globe, around the UK, as to where you are. Maybe who you're cheering for, who you're watching, who you've got an eye out for, who is your favourite driver. Keep in touch with Shelsley Walsh through our Facebook page. It's quite simply Shelsley Walsh, or through our Instagram and Twitter accounts at Shelsley Walsh. Does what it says on the tin. We do have some of our MAC, Midland Automobile Club members here today. Thank you for bearing with us as we get motorsport underway again here in the Team Valley. It's been a late start to the season for obvious reasons, but we're fully underway. Brian Whitty in Austin, Texas. It'll be warm there today, Brian. Home to the Circuit of the Americas. Keep Austin weird. Brian, are you keeping it weird out there? That's the kind of tagline, ladies and gentlemen, that the local tourist office has for Austin. It's an American city until you get to one street, and it's all a bit weird, and there's lots of bars with lots of live music, and it's very different from your average American downtown, I have to say. But it's quite something, and they do it well. They've got a nice relaxed atmosphere there at Austin. I've worked there a few times at the Circuit of the Americas, both for MotoGP and the World Endurance Championship. And indeed for the X Games as well, a few times. We closed downtown Austin and had a half pipe there for for the BMX and for the skateboards. So yeah, it's quite something. So Brian, hope you're having a good day. Gareth George is also watching from Perth, Australia. Gareth George watching from down under. Say hello to Einon Price for me. Well, maybe if Einon is listening at the top of the hill, Gareth George says hello. Amanda George on the line now with the ex-Siffert Chevron B19 from 1975, Eiger Racing. Well, she's already had the bottom half of the hill as a bit of a practice run, so it's a perfect scenario for a hill climber to be red flagged and then immediately get another run. Amanda on her way into the bottom S at 81 miles an hour. Makes her way from the shadows, the dappled sunshine on the tarmac, back into the sunshine and towards the top of the hill, and she crosses the line. 33.48. 33.48 seconds. That looks like it is the end of a batch, so we will bring those cars back down the hill. Darren Tregoning, we're watching from Cornwall. Better than the F1 thing from Barcelona. Well, what colour will the car be on pole? Chances are it may well be a black one made in Brackley, or will it be a blue with red and yellow flashes made in Milton Keynes? Who knows? Who knows? But well, we have a different kind of motorsport here, but the glory of British hill climbing is that the rules are very few and far between, to be blunt, and that's why the big class is so exciting. You've got 2.5 litre V6s competing against big 4 litre Judd V8s, competing against 3.3 litre Cosworths and 2.65 litre V8 Cosworths, against 4-cylinder turbocharged ex-Le Mans engines, all in the unlimited capacity class. It's variety certainly is the spice of British hill climbing at the moment. No weight limit. There is a ride height limit, but that's only measurable when the car is stationary. You know, there's some big G being forced upon these cars at various hills around the country. The biggest G forced on a single-seater here at Shelsley is through the top left-hander. Sean Gould telling me the G loading that it gave him was it 4 or 5, I think, just as he bottomed out for a moment a couple of weeks ago, but we shall see. I remind you that the fastest time at the moment here today is David Warburton's 25.52. 25.52. There you have him, and Father Allen a little bit further back on a 26.33. And then we've got Harry Pick. What a great run that he had with the 1100. 26.73. Andy Greenan next up. Einon Price. Einon can go quicker than that. You know, he'd been knocking on the door of 24s this time last year. But is betting himself in ahead of Bernard Kevill. We'll see Simon Andrews in that car in the next batch. Simon, you've got to beat a 27.43, okay? No pressure. Then we've got Adam Greenan with a 27.46. Mark Lawrence, Debbie Dunbar, Clive Austin, Tom Price, John Stockley, Richard Price, Lino and Nigel Pitt at the moment. But we've got some quick runners to come in this class. Next batch coming up, haven't we? So we shall see how that one all pans out. Roger Banks sending us a message. Wish he'd known about the tin top 10. Well, Roger, we've put it on social media, we've put it on the internet, on our website, we've put it on an email to people. So we've tried. we've tried to tell you, but if you can get your Audi ready, we know that you're the class record holder. Your Audi S4 V8, we know that you're the class record holder, but if you want to get into that tin top 10 in a fortnight's time, then get into the garage and get those spanners a-rattling. Speeds that we've seen over that finish line that you can see on screen in recent meetings include about 153 miles an hour from Sean Gould 3 weeks ago. We had 160 miles an hour from Wallace Menges last year and the year before. He, of course, going on to win the 2019 British Hill Climb Championship with his slightly smaller capacity V8 mounted in the back of his Gould GR59 than the Gould of Sean Gould that we've got here today. As the Eiger Racing Chevron makes its way down into top S. Sometimes when you're rolling down the hill in a car and you get to that top S, you suddenly realise how steep Shelsley is. It's quite something when you let off the brake pedal and the car just rolls away, and it gains quite a lot of speed in no time at all. So in this next batch we've got some quick runners, to say the least. We have got Charles Williams, Jonathan Evans, John Cottrell. Is it only John driving today? I think it may well have been John only driving today with the Pilbeam MP82. Lee Griffiths, Kelvin Broad, and then into the big class in the shape of Steve Owen, Simon Andrews with the white OMS, Steve Owen with the Kermit Green one, Sean Gould with the aforementioned GR59, Trevor Willis, quickest this morning when he did a 25.71, 3 times a British Hill Climb champion, Trevor, with the OMS 28, and then Alex Summers with that newly engined DJ Firestorm that we saw Lindsay take up a moment ago. So all quiet down the base of the hill. Everybody's returned, cars being pushed back into their respective slots. The Empire of Clive Austin, the OMS of Rob Anscombe, the Gould, the Silver Gould of David Warburton just being wheeled around. David with the orange overalls on, and a man who's already done a 25.52 up here today. All the family watching from Rugby, from the Jones household. Track and surrounds looking fantastic. Missing being there, but cheering on for Graham Godfrey, all the way from his sofa. Also a message from Brian Whitty. Do we continue if it rains? Yes, we do. We don't want it to rain, do we? We don't want any rain, thank you very much. We can hopefully avoid that, just as we did a few weeks ago. In fact, it's quite close, it's quite muggy, it's quite warm, but there's quite a bit of blue sky over our heads here at the bottom of the hill. From Vox Villa I can see there's quite a bit of sunshine, there's quite a bit of breeze, some flags not moving, but others being pushed up towards the hill. So driver changes going on in that dual drive paddock, but other people are single car drivers. The next of which looks to be Charles Williams. Yes, it is Charles Williams with the Pilbeam MP87. Car for sale, by the way. Car 76 and a Pilbeam 8. In the back of it some years back, but it's a 2-litre that Charles Williams has got in the back of this Pilbeam. Pilbeam oh so dominant during the late 70s and particularly the 80s, and he drive very wide on the way into Kennel Bend, kicking up the dirt on the way in, but he built his speed through underneath the crossing commentary position, through the top left-hander at 84 miles an hour. Into bottom S, jab of power, around top S, keeps the speed going, and as Charles Williams crosses the line, he does so in 31.24 seconds. Jonathan Evans now leaves the line. Second time we've seen this swallow 2-litre. 2.28 seconds for the first. But on his way through the top left-hander, 77 miles an hour, 77 miles an hour, through the S's, the lower rasp of a car engine over a motorcycle engine. You can certainly hear that with Evans as he makes his way towards the top. Here comes the control. 2.17 seconds for the first 64 feet up towards Crossing Bend, disappears behind those lanes momentarily, but now reappears as he goes through the top left-hander at a speed of 86 miles an hour. 86 into bottom S, into our view through there, gets it all sorted. Time for Griffiths is 28.99, 28.99. As Griffiths gets to the top, 116 miles an hour for Lee Griffiths. Next car on the line. This is Kelvin Broad. Kelvin Broad lining himself up. The force on the line, 1300 supercharged. And he leaves the line, and he leaves it now, and he leaves it well. 2.04 seconds. 6.3 already to Kennel. This is going to be a good rapid run. You can see it's quick. Through the top left-hander, he goes through the speed trap now at 104 miles an hour. 104 into those S's. Already on the exit out of the S's. Building speed. Time to beat is a 25.5. 27.74 for Kelvin Broad. 27.74 for Kelvin Broad. Kelvin Broad gets to the top of the hill at 115 miles an hour. Next up, it's Steve Owen. Steve Owen on the line with the 2.7-litre OMS28. Brought this car out only 3 weeks ago here at Shelsley. 2.14 seconds for the first 64 feet. Already through Kennel, already through crossing, up towards S approach, through the speed trap at 104 miles an hour. Accelerates hard, a little bit of a slide on the exit of top S, and he crosses the line at a speed of 118 miles an hour, 27.17, 27.17. with the Gould GR59, the 4-litre car. He leaves the line, and he leaves it in 2.03 seconds. He'll be building speed. Oh, aggressive on the entry into Kennel Bend. Look at the speed through crossing. He goes towards the top left-hander, striking Sparks. 26 miles an hour on S approach. Already slides it out of top S. Big handful, crosses the line. 24.19 seconds. 24.19 seconds. That's the time to beat here at Shelsley today. And the man who's got his focus on of the top paddock. Simon therefore knows his way up the hill, not just because he lives there, but because he won 3 British Hill Climb Championship rounds when he was driving a Gould, and he's also done a 23-second run up here. He won't be doing that today, but instead he'll do a 38.69 for Simon Durling in the pretty little Alpine. That is the end of a batch. A slightly oily exhaust smell fills this Vox Villa commentary box. But otherwise, that's the end of a batch.
Shelsley Walsh Speed Hill Climb in Worcestershire. It's the oldest motorsport venue in the world that has been continuously run on its original course. 115 years we've been driving and celebrating hill climbing at Shelsley with all sorts of different cars, but most of all with a wonderful view, because we're 10 miles west of Worcester in the Team Valley, and it is quite a view indeed. Lots of cars of various different shapes and sizes all compete at Shelsley over the 1,000-yard course that has been the same since those early days. This is a map of the place from the 1930s. The BBC hut positioned at the bottom and in the middle of the S's, because it used to be broadcast on the Empire service in those days, going as far afield as to Australia and India. But this was Ernest Instone. He set the very first best time of day in 1905 with the Daimler. He did 77.6 seconds, but soon the record tumbled. The view then very similar to what it is now, except for the fact that Maybe the spectators aren't as close nowadays as this Vauxhall 3098 makes its way up through the S's with 4 people on board. Different times indeed. Ingenuity and engineering excellence was certainly very much part of hill climbing then as it is now. Can you imagine driving this to the hill in the 1930s? It was internationally recognised commercially because people got behind the racers who came to Shelsley, including Shell, who celebrated Raymond Mays getting best time of the day in the 1930s. Mays on the left here, with Malcolm Campbell in the middle and Earl Howe on the right-hand side. This is May 1935. Campbell had just set a land speed record at 276 miles an hour, and before the year was out, he would be the first person to break 300 miles an hour. He was competing on that day at Shelsley in his Sunbeam. So it drew the names and it drew the people, including Hans Stuck and the might of Auto Union, who came to Shelsley in June 1936. Stuck on the left-hand side, Horsch in the middle, one of the 4 rings of the Auto Union that, of course, now make up the Audi logo. And Leslie Wilson on the right-hand side, the then secretary at Shelsley, welcomed Stuck to the hill. Also present that day, second from left, was Prince Beera. Then you got Stuck in the white jacket, Mays, Earl Howe, and on the extreme right-hand side, Prince Chula, who, of course, was hand-in-hand with Beera. What a lineup on the day. Stuck, unfortunately, had to try and get to the top of the hill in very difficult wet conditions. Too many horsepowers, he said, but the view then, well, that wooden barn is still there. The view.
Okay, welcome back here to our live pictures as we have Paul Howard coming to the line. Now, we've got runners and riders who are only competing here at Shelsley today, Saturday, and this is their first class run. No. Yeah, this is their first class run. So Paul Howard on the line with his Rover MGF. Leaves the line. Hits the rev limiter as he comes past Vox Villa. Good way to learn your way into British hill climbing and learn your lines and learn the spirit of hill climbing and learn where a few bumps are and such like. And of course you can drive it to the racetrack. The main thing is you drive it home. S approach for the MGF, 61 miles an hour. Paul Howard makes his way towards the top of the hill as David Garnett leaves the line with the Renault Clio Cup, a 182. Very light, very chuckable, very handleable. So he's on the hill, already going through Crossing Bend. On his way up is David Garnett. And he goes through S approach at 76 miles an hour. 76 miles an hour. James Kerr leaves the line now. Goes up towards Kennel with a little Peugeot 205. We've seen him already here this year. Oh, tight line through crossing, goodness me. Meaning business for the 205 GTI. Is it a 1.9 or is it a 1.6? By the way, it's going. Looks like a 1.9. Good line, good committed run. Goodness me. This will be a very respectable time. James Kerr crosses the line, 35.08, 86 miles an hour over the line. Anna-May Furness is now at the start with the little 106 GTI. Been sharing this with Ollie Wright so far this year. Ollie Wright is driving a Westfield today, so the car for Anna is all hers. She did a personal best 3 weeks ago, after having made a bit of a mess of the start, got angry and dumped the clutch and went as quick as she's ever done before, so that was positive for her, but if he gets a run altogether, then it'll work well. Holding her on the line for a moment. Car number 123, Anna May Furness. So she'll be underway in a moment's time. Alex Summers didn't get a chance to run a moment ago, but it looks like the car is all fixed and sorted now. Alex might be running a little bit out of order, but that doesn't matter a jot to us here on a Saturday, as he will be bedding that car in bit by bit. Anna being pushed away from the line. The line of Anna May, 2.84 for those first 64 feet. Harry Flatters through Kennel, up towards crossing, nicely done, leaning on it, keeps the momentum, pushing that accelerator right through the floor, through that S approach at 78 miles an hour. Already out of top S, on her way. Bank slap middle of the roads, up towards the finish line, and she crosses that finish line in a time of 37.30, 79 miles an hour over the line. Next up is Alex Bones in the Audi S3. Four-wheel drive, launch control, has to brake for Kennel Bend. Flash of lights you can see there on our live feed. Now gets it opened up. Quick road car this, and yet just 3.37 seconds for the first 64 feet and 78 miles an hour on S approach. Whistles its way through the S's, out of top S, and away towards the top of the hill. Crosses the line, 35.3. 2015 British Hill Climb champion, Alex. Second in last year's British Hill Climb Championship. Brand new V8 Cosworth engine mounted in the back of this car. First time that we've seen it driven at Shelsley here this weekend. Summers on his way, really cracking on, tramping on through the top left-hander. Goes through there at a speed of 125 miles an hour. There's only 1 mile an hour down on Sean Gould's time speed that he did a moment ago. Time to beat is a 25.52, and it's a 24.30. 24.30 from Alex Summers, 133 miles an hour over the line. Best time of day so far. No, it's not. It's 24.14 for Sean. I apologise. Getting completely ahead of myself. Apologies, Sean Gould. You can doff me later. Sean Gould, still best, 24.19. Alex Summers, second on a 24.30. Second on a 24.30. The speed, the outright speed of that Gould still has that advantage at the moment. But what a run by Summers in a car that is first time here at Shelsley. Robert Lancaster Gay, not the first time for him at Shelsley in the GT3 996 Porsche. He knows his way up the hill, doesn't he? Using all the road and then some. 83 miles an hour on that S approach. Gets to the top of the hill. 33.52. 33.52. For Lancaster Gay. Robin Gutteridge, though, with the Mazda MX-5 1800 Turbo. Whistles his way up, bank slap middle of the road as he goes through the timing beam on S approach, 62 miles an hour, nice wide line entry, that's the kind of thing that you need for bottom S. Now he's on his way towards the top of the hill. Crosses the line at a speed of 71 miles an hour, 43.26. Will Goff now with not the Ford Sierra Cosworth, but the Alfa Romeo. This is a 4C, is it not? The Milanese car on its way through that S approach at 68 miles an hour. Apparently it's a brilliant driver's car. Apparently it's just the thing you need for the A roads and the B roads of the UK and those alpine passes to the north of Turin and Milan. But here today it's a 38.67 for Will Goff. Tim King with the BMW 1 Series 3-litre turbo mounted under the bonnet of this Bavarian wagon. The other side of the Alps. Oh, struggling for gears, struggling for everything, struggling for speed, and gets it into gear and gets away. So not a good S sector for Tim King. Crosses the line though at a speed of 85, 41.35 miles an hour. Anthony Brown with the Audi TT turbocharged, 2.29 for the first 64 feet. Got a couple of TTs coming up in short order here. Whole plethora of German engineered cars, in fact, more is the point. Anthony Brown 80 on S approach here at Shelsley Walsh. Brown gets to the top of the hill, stops the clock, 36.01, 36.01. Graham Godfrey, another Audi TT, not black but silver. And is he going a little bit quicker? Not quite. He's managed to get, mind you, he's got his crossing time all sorted. Getting about level with Anthony Brown's times. Through the S's, just a little bit slower than the black TT that was before him. But no problem now as he gets towards the finish. Time will pop up on the screen as Simon Tarling leaves the line with this 996 GT3 Porsche. Very desirable of the GT3 run that they did over the years. Squeal of tyres, tries to scrub the speed off as he approaches that bottom S, and now gets it all sorted on the exit of top S. Tarling.
Get a gear, there's one in there somewhere, George. As he gets it, he eventually engaged on the exit of crossing. Pulls the car back into line through the S's. Ollie Wright used to be driving that Peugeot 106 GTI, but he's in a guest drive here today with a
1600, and he goes through the trap at 78 miles an hour. 78 miles an hour. Whoa, slides it into bottom S, chucks it through top S, gives it a big handful, leaves himself a little bit of space, and accelerates well on his way. Ollie Wright gets to the top, 34.31. 34.31. Next up, we have got a car that I've not seen at Shelsley before. Car number 129, Neville Thompson in the Pell Genesis. He does 78 on S approach, but the Genesis makes its way towards the top of the hill, and he crosses that finish line in a time of 37.51, 37.51. Jim Collins now with the VW Beetle. Beetle front end, true Porsche rear end. And the 2.76 cylinder makes its way at 77 miles an hour into that bottom S. Into the left, into the right and away. The Beetle gets to the top as David Strange leaves the line with his Crossley. Pretty car, this little Crossley from Northern Ireland. Comes through crossing, breaks the speed trap at 76 miles an hour on S approach. 76 on S approach. No problem for him through the S's. Nothing to report about, no stress, no trouble, just enjoyment for David Strange. Crosses the line 34.88, 34.88. Nigel Pitt now leaves the line with the 1100cc OMS. He goes well in this. Chockable car, handleable car, fun car. As he's already out of kennel, up towards crossing, that blind left-hander from the driving perspective, and he's into bottom S at a speed of 98 miles an hour. Through the S's he goes, he's all sorted, he gets towards the top of the hill, and he crosses that finish line, 30.11, 30.11, and he crosses it at a speed of 98 miles an hour. Welcome to you all, wherever you're watching all over the planet. Some regular names watching from here within the UK, but we've also got some messages that we can give you, including from Jonathan Stockley. He's watching from Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. You miss Shelsley. We look forward to seeing you back very soon, Jonathan. No problem at all. Never mind the username, but tuned in from Adelaide Hills in South Australia, doing last weekend of scout training. Everyone's gone to bed, but it's too early for me to go to bed. Whoever you are, you're watching from those Adelaide Hills.
Good evening to you.
Making its way, and we will we'll have a commentator change. If you look on Twitter or Facebook, you'll see you'll see that on the 15th of August 1971 we had a meeting here at Shelsley. It was a championship meeting, and one of the commentators was John Moody, and 49 years later he'll be commentating here at Shelsley today. So John will do the next batch for you.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Glad you're talking to us at Shelsley Walsh. Nice day here. Hope it is with you. As most of you know, very long history of this hill climb. Started the competition here in 1905, 115 years ago. Cars that you've seen in the last 10 minutes coming down the hill now, variety of them, few Porsches, and we shall start with the next batch very shortly. I'm glad that you've seen some very, very quick hill climbing indeed with the single-seaters. One of those cars, very, very new indeed, but my goodness me, was it quick. And once it's run in for a few events, it'll be even quicker. Sun's going down, wind is just chilly, but very pleasant summer weather, and we'll be back in competitive business now. Midland Automobile Club was formed 4 years before they found the Shelsley Walsh Hill Climb. Now we have got coming to the line little Renault. This I think is going to be number 112. No, it's not. It's yes, it is 112. Comes past the box now. Ian Richards at the wheel, I do beg his pardon, making good progress, having passed the triangle, now going up through crossing, accelerating away, slight turn to the left as he goes towards the bottom S, gets through that satisfactorily, avoids the drain as he goes into the top S, now heads for the finishing line with a time of 38.53. Martin Jones has followed him up with the Elva Mark 7. Elvas were competitive sports racing cars made in Hastings in the 1960s in some numbers. They made some road cars as well. Martin Jones making good practice, 1600cc, he's heading to the finishing line now, and he's now finished, he's now left with a time of 37.14, followed up by Josh Sadler. Josh Sadler, who's been involved with the competition side of Porsches for many, many years. He is now setting his sights for bottom S. He's round there, top S, accelerating furiously towards the finishing line. He's followed up by Stephen Ackers with the Mini Cooper S, 1964 car. Time for Josh Sadler, 34.15. Stephen Ackers, foot hard down. Got all the signs of being an ex-Abingdon competition Mini. Minis, when they were in their pomp in the 1960s or 70s, used to be here in vast numbers. Almost had classes that were Minis only. Steve Fenner follows up with an MGB Roadster. Time for Stephen Ackers, 42.99. Stephen Fenner making good progress, and he's followed up by a Reliance Scimitar, going to be driven by Terry Cox. He's on the start line at the moment. Steve Fenner heading to the finishing line with a time of 40.19, beg his pardon. Speed over the finishing line, 70. Terence Cox in the Reliant Scimitar. They don't make Reliant road cars any longer, but they were very successful in their day. Very successful also in the classic car movement. Quite apart from anything else, they've got fiberglass bodies and don't go rusty. Time for Terry Cox, 40.29, 73 over the line. Ian Stainburn, another Reliant, 3-litre Ford pushrod engine. Terry Cox's time of 40.29, just headed by Steve Fenner. Don't know how Ian Stainburn will do. We'll shortly see. He's got another MGA chasing him. Ian Stainburn's time 41.31, 71 miles an hour. So those Reliants very similar at their times. Ted Elwes is in the MGA, fitted with a 1900cc engine, probably one that started life in an MGB. He does a lot of hill climbing in this car, uses it on the road, doesn't trailer it to meetings. Ted Elwes up to the finishing line, time 41.19, 68 miles an hour. Now Roger Beard, car number 146. Another Reliant. Good start. 2.58 seconds for 64 feet, as Toby will have told you, I'm sure. If you can leave the line in 2 seconds or less, you will have, firstly, you've done very well, and secondly, you can claim. Now then, Roger Beard into the S's now. Time coming up for him, and Dave Parr on the start line. Roger Beard 41.47. David Parr has been hill climbing in Fords of one sort and another and a few other cars since the 1960s. He started with a Ford Anglia, and today he's competing in a Ford Anglia. Not the same one, but very similar. In the interim, he's done a lot of hill climbing with more recent Ford cars. Competitive motorist. Dave Parr, 38.92, 74 over the line. David Owen in a Merlin single-seater Formula Ford car. Single-seater in between these sports cars. David Owen motoring away. He's followed up by Charles Bolton, another very successful and regular MGB competitor. David Owen's time 36 seconds dead, 81 miles an hour over the line. Charles Bolton in the MGB. He's a regular competitor here at Shelsley, a local driver, and he's going to be followed up by Carol Nichols, the lady in a single-seater, the Nike. She's about to leave the start line. Charles Bolton's time, he's still motoring. Carol has left the start line. She's managed to do the first 64 feet in 2.5 seconds. If she did it for in 2 seconds or less, you would exceed gravity. Time for Carol Nichols coming up. In the meantime, Charles Bolton's time was 43.03. Carol Nichols making good use of this car. 1600cc. Now we've got another Mini. This is a very, very quick Mini. It's driven by Matt Clark, whom we see here regularly. It's a 1960s Mini with very significant improvements along its life, including having a 1400cc engine installed. But he knows what he's doing. Matt Clark keeps his foot on the floor and it shoots along. He's up the finishing straight now and heading for the line. Time for him will come through, and it is 36.77, finishing speed of 77 miles an hour, which is not bad in a Mini. Simon Braithwaite is on the hill. Another Ford Escort, 1975 car. Very tidy. Another Ford engine car on the hill. This time it's Nick Stevens in a Ginetta G4. Let me give you a time for Simon Braithwaite. 34.98. Nick Stevens in the Ginetta, finishing his run up to the S's. He'll go through them quite quickly. Turns to the left now. Bottom S. Keeping it in the middle of the road. There's a drain there which is best avoided. And there you go. Up the finishing line. Absolutely straight as a gun barrel. Time for Nick Stevens, 35.56. Another lady, Bryony Serrell. Bryony Serrell, Worcestershire lady, who is competing with an Elva Sports racing car, 1600cc. Desperately keen on hill climbing. She seldom misses a Shelsley. Looks after her animals and comes hill climbing. Got life very sorted. Time for Bryony Serrell, 35.55. Andrew Tippett now in a Brabham BT30. This is an interesting car. It didn't start life as a 3.5 litre V8, but that engine was put in it during its earlier part of its life. So it's a quick motor car. It did 64 feet in 2.19 seconds, and it got to the top of the hill in 32.36. 109 miles an hour over the line. By no means a recent sports car, so he did very well in that. Andrew Tippett. Phil Fisher's on the hill with a Mallock. Mallocks don't hill climb in the numbers that they used to. We used to have squadrons of them. Very committed people, used to enjoy themselves. Time for Phil Fisher, 33.41, 91 miles an hour, and Michael Fisher now on the hill. Michael Fisher with an MGB Roadster. Very, very tidy car, this. Had it for quite some time. Going into the S's now. 1800cc engine. They are very versatile, MGBs, now, and they've been out of manufacture for probably 30-something years, but a lot of them around and they're well looked after. Time for Michael Fisher, 46.26. Claire Lightwood with an OMS single-seater, 1100cc. Into the bottom S now. Claire Lightwood going up that absolute straight towards the finishing line and over the line in 37.93. 93 miles an hour over the finishing line. That's not bad. Now we've got another lady. This is Sarah Thorne. Lives in these parts of Worcestershire. Got a Lotus Formula Junior car. Lotus 22/23. Keen Lotus enthusiast, as is her husband Malcolm Thorne, who has also left the start line with another Lotus single-seater, Type 35. Sarah Thorne's time, 33.86, 96 miles an hour. Malcolm Thorne, let's see whether he's any quicker. He'll want to be, I can tell you that. He's into the top S now. Malcolm Thorne heading for the finishing line with a time of 33.10, 33.10. He's a bit quicker than his wife. Both of those now followed by Tom Purvis. Tom Purvis with the Triumph TR3A, car from the mid-ish to late-ish 1960s, immaculately prepared. There's several Triumph TR3s here today, and they're all a credit to their owners or whoever works on them. Tom Purvis lives down in Surrey, I believe. Long way here, but we see him from time to time. He's very welcome. Time of 41.42. Philip Brown in a slightly earlier Triumph TR. TR2, 2.2 litre. Purvis's time of 41.42. That's a good time. I don't know whether one or two of these other TRs might be a bit lighter. They might catch him. We'll see. Philip Brown's motoring away, and he's followed by Hamish Roscoe. Hamish Roscoe with another TR3A, again 2.2 litre. In their day, those TRs are very versatile, circuit raced, international rallied, hill climbed, etc. Philip Brown's time, 45.14. So at the moment, Tom Purvis has still got the legs on his co-competitors. Hamish Roscoe, top S. And I can see that what was going to be the next TR to leave the start line has been pushed away into the paddock, so we're not going to see that. But the time for Hamish Roscoe, 41.20. That's the end of a batch. One of the features of Shelsley, for those of you who've not been here, is that it's, as I'm sure you've read, in a very agreeable part of the Worcestershire countryside. Views are tremendous, particularly at this time of year. Everything's at its best, and the track is in good order. And if you go to the top of the hill, which you can do on foot from time to time, the views across Worcestershire are very delightful. So those of you who are looking from other countries at the moment, very welcome to have you taking in what's going on. But if you're in England for any time, come along to a Shelsley meeting. You'll enjoy it. Cars coming down the hill, and another gathering of the next batch is taking place in the paddock. Quite a number of Porsches lining up, and plenty of activity there. You saw some very quick motoring with the single-seaters when Toby was on the wire. I don't know whether he mentioned the record of the hill. The record stands to a former champion, and the time is 22.58 seconds. 22.58. So there's been some quick motoring today, but not quite as quick as the hill record holder, who surprisingly set the record 11 years ago. Things change, people change. All the cars coming down now. The TR's looking splendid. Those of you looking at your screen, you can see the cars coming down in convoy. They've enjoyed themselves. They've got another run to take this afternoon, and I think some of them might be competing tomorrow also. I suppose one of the features of English motorsport is that you get cars of all shapes, all sizes, all ages and all values. But the one thing that is common is that firstly they all enjoy themselves, and secondly it's absolutely amateur. Doesn't mean it's cheap, but it is an amateur sport, and a lot of people commit their social life to hill climbing and they spend a bit of money on it, but there they go. They thoroughly enjoy it and we're pleased to see them constantly. Right, I think we shall have some cars coming to the start line very shortly. As you may have heard a few minutes ago, the best time of the day here so far is 23.61 seconds. 23.61. Sean Gould with Trevor Willis, 24.27. And then Alex followed in 25.14. But they're going to have another run. Now we've got on the start line now a TR4, which is, as you might gather, a derivative from the TR3, mechanically very similar, slightly different body shape, but solid motor cars. They look after themselves very well in the classic sphere. This should be Richard Durrant, I think. Yes, it is. Richard Durrant with the TR4A, 2.2 litre, 4-cylinder, pushrod engine, straightforward mechanics, capable of long journeys and long mechanical life. Of the TRs that have been up, the quickest of them was 41.20 of Hamish Roscoe. So let's see what Richard Durrant can do. We won't have to wait very long because he's just about to go over the finish line, which he does now. 42.01, 67 miles an hour over the line. David Meek on the hill with a Mazda MX-5. Those of you who go to quite a bit of British hill climbing, as many of us do, will notice that Mazda MX-5s are the most popular road car that we see on the hills. There are dozens of them and they all enjoy themselves, and in the greater scheme of things it's quite competitive and it's also reasonably priced hill climbing. Time for David Meek in the Mazda, 39.81, 71 over the line. David Warner is following him. David Warner with the Renault Clio 197. They are another sphere of models that are so common in British hill climbing. They're relatively available in large numbers. They don't weigh very much. On the second-hand market, they're very competitive, and you can get yourself into British hill climbing with one of those. Ideal starter car, and at a reasonable price. Time for car number 17, Tony Adams, with the Lotus Elise, with a time of 36.87. Richard Brandt has been on the start line. He's now nearing the top of the hill, also in an aforementioned Renault Clio. Richard Brandt, one of the regular competitors on Midland hill climbing, enjoys it thoroughly. He's going to be followed by Ross MacDonald, who is in a quicker and more noisy Porsche. Time for Richard Brandt, 34.68. Ross MacDonald is following. 3 litre 911, 3.3 litre 911, I beg his pardon. Going out of top S now, stuck to the road like glue. And what is it being chased by? It's being chased by a TVR with Stephen Mogg at the wheel, another local man from Worcestershire. He's got a 5 litre V8 engine in that car. It's a TVR Griffiths. And that's going to be quick. Let me give you Ross MacDonald's time, 35.43. Stephen Mogg in the TVR is still motoring. He's about to stop the clocks, which is now done. 31.05, 94 miles an hour in the TVR. And here's John Pick in this AMS Mutara. It's an interesting car. It's not quite a one-off, because people tell me that there are a few of them that have been assembled elsewhere in the world, but this is the only one I've ever seen. It's turbocharged, it's 2 litre, it's got Subaru mechanics, and John Pick has got it up the hill in 34.10. Andy Fraser now, Aston Martin Vantage. Andy Fraser has had with his partner an Aston Martin on the hills for 3 or 4 years now, but they've changed the model, and he's in the recent acquisition. Andy Fraser's time, 33.60. Nigel Elliott on the hill. Now Nigel Elliott, very keen Midland Automobile Club member. He has got what started life as a Triumph TR7 with a 1.8 litre engine or so. He put a V8 engine in, 4.6 litres. He then turbocharged it. He then spent a bit of time dealing with the suspension and all the other parts of the car to make it hold with the road and be manageable. So he's got control of it in recent years, so much so that he went up the hill just now in 31.71, over the line at 108. Good going, that. Paul Howells on the hill now, car number 36, another Porsche, 3.8 litre. Paul Howells started on the line and finished on 31.74, crossed the line at 100 miles an hour. Helen Evans now, car number 37. Helen Evans, yet again with a Porsche Carrera. Now got an interesting car on the line. It's a former single-seater driver, Darren Gumley, and he's now got a Radical Radical Sports racing car. He's about to leave the start line. Now we have got a time for Helen Evans. 38 seconds dead. 93 miles an hour. Darren Gumbley lives elsewhere in this part of the world. Had some quick runs with his single-seater. Darren Gumbley, he's out of top S. Aiming at the line. 31.23 was his time, 95 miles an hour. On the line now, we've got Adam Greenan. Adam Greenan with the Empire Evo. 1 litre. Off the line in 2.08 seconds. That's jolly nearly dealing with gravity. Very, very keen start. Adam Greenan over the line now in 26.99. That's a good time, that. 26.99 for a 1 litre single-seater. Mark Lawrence sitting on the line, an OMS. OMS made by Steve Owen up in the northern parts of England. He's made a very substantial number of these cars. Very popular make. OMS is Steve M. Owen backwards, if you know what I mean. And he's been very successful, not only making these
Special, called the Buckler Melody Special. Remember that when you go home. He's through the top S now. Just a little tiny car. But he's enjoying himself. equally importantly, to talk to the drivers. You can get a bit of information there, and it's very convenient. Down past the box here, Nigel Elliott with that TR7 with 4.6 litres of V8 and turbocharged. A note on the screen here from Charles Smith saying it's nice to see Shelsley back in action once more. Got your note, Mark Bateman. I hope the sound has come through to you again. It seems to be functioning at this end. Right, on the line now, we've got car number 50. They're working on
Incidentally, apparently, but car number 50 is on the hill. This is Andrew Burt with the Mallock Mark 32. He's approaching the bottom S at the moment. Andrew Burt, car number 50. Just clipped the grass on his left-hand side as he started up the finishing straight. He's followed up by Graham Lokes. Graham Lokes
fitted with a 3.2 litre Porsche engine. He fitted it himself some years ago.
It's been a thorough, good, regular hill climb car. It's quick, it starts on the button, it's rugged, and he's had a lot of interest and a lot of fine hill climbing. Time for Andrew Burt, 34.81, 93 miles an hour. Graham Lokes, 33.61, 96 miles an hour. Now we've got Paul Jones in the Radical. We don't get that many radicals.
Radicals on hill climbing, but my goodness me, they have made lots of radicals for their own purposes in Britain, and they've been very successful. Paul Jones is on the hill in the 1.1 litre radical.
Goes over the finishing line now, and its time is 32.05. Here is the Aston Martin again. My goodness me, this is the second Aston Martin that these two chaps have shared in recent years. The previous one, they've moved it on. This one, I assume it's either a bit quicker or a bit lighter or whatever. Designed not for road work but for hill climbing. Big motor car for narrow hills, but they are in complete control of it. It's a GT4. 2.5 seconds for 64 feet off the start line. Tim Painter is the driver. Time for Paul Jones in that Radical, 32.05. The Aston Martins, they get a lot of information about their business nowadays. There's a lot happening at Aston Martin's. They're having a bit of a difficult time. Mind you, if you make expensive motor cars at the moment, you do have a bit of a difficult time, but they're in control of it. Time for Tim Painter in the Aston, 33.69, 94 over the line. Andrew Norris, Porsche Carrera 11, 3.3 litres and supercharged. You don't get many supercharged Carreras, obviously added after its early days. .102. Mark Slater's on the 9 now with the Jedi. Jedi, I think they're still in production. Small single-seaters. This is a 1 litre powered car. Mark Slater's the driver. Oh, back. Something to do with position of the front wheels, I imagine. Or maybe the engine has packed up. We will shortly see, or not shortly hear, but there we go. It's being manoeuvred. Let's hope he can get it sorted in time for the next run. Hard-working marshals pushed it away from the start line. So the next car along, I imagine, would be Clive Austin, probably. Clive Austin with the Empire Wraith. He's a local Worcestershire man. Enjoys his motorsport, enjoys lots of other aspects of sport. Can't quite see that it's his car in the paddock, but it might be. We will have him here very shortly. They are lining up, and the Jedi's gone away. With a bit of luck, if they fettle that engine or whatever is wrong, they will have him functioning for the second runoff. We will see. Mike Tregonning, thank you for your note. I know you live in Cornwall. We communicate from time to time. Glad you're enjoying the stream. As you say, no better place to be than Shelsley Walsh on a day like this. I'm glad you say that. If I say it, people say, oh, you shouldn't say that, you're biased. But no point in not being biased if in fact Shelsley looks after itself. On the start line now, we have got, is it Harry Pick? Andy Greenan. Yes, it's Andy Greenan. We've seen him once before this afternoon. 2.14 seconds for 64 feet. Andy Greenan shooting up. He's already getting ready to go into bottom S. Car is an Empire Evo. Andy Greenan previously achieved 26.76. He's done better, 26.37, 103 miles an hour. That's good. That's good. Now coming to the start line, we have got somebody like... It's not time. Toby says it's Clive Austin. Yeah, it says that on the screen. He must have changed his hat, Toby, from this morning. Did you see it with the decorations? Here he comes. Local man, Clive Austin, Empire Wraith. Time 2.06 off the start line. That's very good. And he will be looking to nip quickly through the S's. See what he can do. He's heading up the finishing line, over the finish line, 28.35 28.35, 106 miles an hour. Harry Pick on the hill now, car number 70 with the OMS. Told you about OMSs, made in northern England. His previous time today was 26.73, 3/100ths of a second quicker than Clive Austin.
Now we've got him on the line. Greenham.
Is that right? I'll keep talking. Can't talk to you at the moment, chaps. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I'll assume that you can. Harry Pick is on his way up the hill, going into the bottom S now. Harry Pick with the OMS up the finishing line, not quite over. Crosses it 26.83. 26.83. Finish speed 107 miles an hour. Debbie Dunbar. Debbie Dunbar, very successful young lady in recent years. She shares the DJ Firehawk 1100cc. She made best time of day here for one event a couple of years ago. Beat everybody on the competition on the day. Debbie Dunbar, time 28.64. Finish speed 111. 28.64. Les Buck with the Pringit Mistral. This is a French manufactured single-seater. Don't see many of them, but in their day they were manufactured as Formula Ford cars. Les Buck has had this one for a few seasons. Time for him off the start line was 2.44. Makes such a lot of difference. If you can be 4/10ths of a second quicker off the line, once you've got that, nobody can take it from you. Time 36.20, 78 miles an hour, 36.20. Andrew Henson, car number 67. This is a Van Diemen, a 1991 Van Diemen. Started life as a Formula Ford car. .69 seconds off the blocks. Andrew Henson. He's being going to be followed up by Rod Anscombe. Rod Anscombe with another pushrod engine car. Andrew Henson's time as he comes over the line is 34.15, 82 miles an hour, 34.15. Rob Anscombe with the OMS Hornet leaves the start line. He is 2.5 seconds dead off the blocks. He's making his way up, goes through the crossing, which is about halfway up the hill from the start line to bottom S. Negotiates bottom S, clips the edge of the drain as he came into top S. A lot of people have got things to say about the drain, but no dramas for Rob Anscombe. Time 31.03, 97 miles an hour. This must be John Stockley. Yes, it is, in the Force 1600cc, 2.44 off the blocks, off through Kennel Bend, off through crossing, just about to slow down for first S, now gone through top S, very steep in that area where the S's are, if you lose your momentum up there, it's very tricky to get it back again. Time for John Stockley, 29.11. Einan Price, car number 12. Einan Price with the Force 1600cc. If you can hear me, Debbie Dunbar, somebody has belated you and given you good wishes. His name is Mark Smith. You're at the top now, but he sends good wishes to you. Says you should have gone up in 25 seconds or under. Time for Einan Price, 27.43, 106 miles an hour. Now this is David Warburton, car number 10. Shares the car with his father. It's a GR59. It is a Swift motor car. David Warburton, 2.01 seconds, 2.01 off the line. Over the finishing line in 25.19, 25.19. Kevin Creven, car number 777. He's left the start on 2.28. At time of David Warburton's 25.19. It's a good time. It's ahead of quite a number of people. It's not ahead of Sean Gould, of course, but it is ahead of... Hello? Hello? Right, time for Kevin Creenan. 34.33, 88 miles an hour. Lynn Owen, very successful lady driver. She and her husband run the OMS manufacturing operation, which has been hugely successful. The cars are quick, they're well manufactured, and a lot of people have got them. Lynn Owen coming up to bottom S now. Cars had a different coat of paint this year and a different engine. Time for Lynn Owen as she crosses the line. 29.52. 29.52. Now on the line we've got Bernard Kevill, Shropshire man, lives not very far away. Shares this car, Bernard Kevill, with the OMS 2.6 litre V8. Time for him, I'll give you in a moment, his speed as he comes through S approach was 109. Nearly over the finishing line. It's 27.67 for Bernard Kevill, 118 miles an hour. Now we've got Lindsay Summers. Lindsay Summers, car number 702, shares this car with her son. It's Alex Summers that went up the hill in this car in 25.17 seconds an hour or so ago. Very new car, very new engine, 2.7 litre Cosworth. Lindsay Summers, quick lady driver through top S, and she's going over the finish line now with 29.67. 29.67, 124 miles an hour. She might have been a bit quicker in that time, but we'll see. Now we've got Amanda George with the Chevron B19. Very historic car from the 1970s in sports car racing. Raced at Le Mans and other events within Britain. Amanda George shares this car with her father. Beautifully prepared car. She's over the line now in 30 34.50. 34.50. Red flag's out. That's the end of a batch.
Absolutely wonderful, and Junior's lost none of his style. Let's approach 124.
Absolutely textbook through the S1.
Round of applause. And as I said a moment ago, we're back in business here at Shelsley.
Thank you, John. Other messages that we've got coming in from around the world, including Richard Young, who has been watching from an oil tanker. He has been moved from 3 weeks ago from the South China Sea. He's now in the environs of Western Australia. So that's the end of our batch as these cars come back down the hill. And a few driver changes that'll happen at the bottom of the hill in the dual drive area before we have our final batch. But we may well have some of the quickest runs of the day in this final batch before we will get going again tomorrow. Tomorrow, Sunday, we'll be getting going at mid-morning UK time. I don't know, 10:30, 10:45 or so. Depends how the flow of the morning runs go. And then we will be underway for our live stream tomorrow. We'll have a run-off. There's no British Championship, of course, in 2020, which is a shame because some of the hills were prepared to be running, but unfortunately some of them didn't want to run and then changed their minds. So unfortunately we lost the chance for a British Championship, which is a shame because it had been going since 1947, continually through foot and mouth, Suez crisis, oil crisis, whatever. But we're having 6 weekends of running here at Shelsley, and that's only one short of the normal 7 weekends of running that we would have had in a normal summer. So we are definitely in the business of doing business in 2020 here at Shelsley, and we'll be having a special runoff tomorrow lunchtime for just the fastest people in the morning, and then at the end of the day we'll have another runoff for the fastest people who've been quick in the afternoon. We'll keep that quite simple. In the dual drive area you can see some of the drivers hopping out and other drivers hopping in. Bernard Kevill getting out, Simon Andrews about to get in, Lynn Owen getting out, Steve Owen about to get in, and it will be just a little bit out of our view that Alan Warburton will be getting out and David Warburton getting in. Or has David been up? Sorry, apologies, David has been up. David went up in a 25.19, which beat his morning time well. Quickest time that we've had so far here today, 24.19. 24.19, that's from Sean Gould. And second at the moment is Alex Summers. Alex Summers, who just a couple of hundredths of a second behind Sean Gould. Do keep in touch with our Facebook page if you're watching here on YouTube, and also send us some messages through the YouTube comments as well. Lots of comments that we've had throughout the day, but we've still got some quick runs in these last kind of 15-20 minutes or so as we wait for these drivers to get all sorted. There's a view from the other end of the paddock. Shelsley Walsh, MAC Union Jacks flying well and proud. If you are an MAC member, then we are open for MAC members to come on to the hill tomorrow, so look at the email that you would have received on Wednesday morning and click the link and make sure that you go through all the systems so that we can look forward to having you here at Shelsley tomorrow. Okay, next car is coming to the line, and this is one of our shared cars. This is car number 77. It looks like it's going to be Jonathan Evans in the Swallow. Indeed it is. Revs dip just a little, but now he gets it on song, kicks up a bit of dirt, quite a lot of dirt on the way into Kennel, in fact, taking almost too much of a wide line. Can catch some people out if they're new to single-seaters, how wider the track is at the rear over the front track, but Evans is on his way at a speed of 83 miles an hour into that bottom S left-hander. Formula 3 chassis of old, always a favourite for many a hill climber, and always a solid start for many a person. And likewise, a pill beam in the shape of an MP82, a 2 litre for John Cottrell. Jonathan Evans did a 36.69. Cottrell has got his eye on a 29, a 30. Let's see, he's going to leave the line with lots of revs. The whole rear of the car shudders as he lets the clutch in. And he makes his way toward Kennel Bend with that flag fluttering on the way on his right-hand side. Goes through crossing. No problem at all for him through there. Bang slap middle of the road through the top left-hander. S approach for him, 83 miles an hour. Quick kiss of that drain cover on the inside of top S, and then no other problems as he crosses the line at a speed of 104 miles an hour, 32.31, 32.31. Lee Griffiths now with the OMS 25, just a bit bigger than a 1600. He has to dip the clutch to get the revs up to spin the wheels. A lot of people find that the start line itself has just got much more grip than the tyre warming area that they've just sort of got their
their feet into sync to, as it were, with that clutch pedal. 107 on S approach for Lee Griffiths with the OMS. Smoothly through top S, no problems at all. Now it's all about the power and it's all about the speed. He crosses the line. 28.32, no finish speed. 28.32 for Lee Griffiths. Next up is Kelvin Broad with the supercharged 1300cc motorcycle 4-cylinder engine. It's all going to be whoosh and whoosh and lots of power. Oh, it launches, doesn't it? 2.12 seconds for the first 64 feet. That's quick. It was visibly quick as he left the line. Chuckable car, these Force chassis. I drove one many a time up here at Shelsley and many other of the UK hills. Very good car to learn in. Did me the world of good to just build a little bit of confidence on the hills. But Kelvin Broad got a lot of confidence here today. Stops the clocks 27.54. 111 miles an hour over the finish line for Kelvin Broad. Next up, we've got Steve Owen with a new for 2020 V8 2.7 litre V8 in the back of it. The OMS. Lots of traction control. The launch control kicks in. It rumbles underneath my commentary position. 2.19 seconds for the first 64 feet. Now he's building speed. Kennel crossing. S approach split coming up. 109 miles an hour on the speed trap through there. Nicely through the S's. Gives it a big load of welly. Hangs the back out. Crosses the finish line at 125 miles an hour. 26.59. 26.59 seconds for Steve Owen. Simon Andrews with the OMS 2.8 litre V8. It's come up through the ranks of the 1100 class, now into the big class with the unlimited capacity car. Vettel's classic cars during the week, and he's in something very quick and very modern on a weekend. 114 miles an hour as he went down towards the S's. Went wide on the exit of bottom S, but gathers it all together. Now puts his foot down, feels the power of the V8, crosses the line. 26.70. 26.70. Sean Gould really got this Gould GR59 into good order last year. Walked away from some British hills with some outright records. He started driving in the late 80s, early 90s, had a big break from hill climbing, but now he's back with this GR59 that he and his father, David, have created and engineered. It's got a 4-litre Judd V8 in the back of it that used to be part of the World Endurance Championship. It's got about 700 horsepower. The car weighs just over 400 kilos in weight. And I'll leave you to do the sums of the power to weight ratio. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Gould leaves the line, and he leaves it in 2.01 seconds. Already out of my view here from the bottom of the hill through Kennel, already through crossing, building speed, striking sparks. 131 on S approach. Hard on the brakes, through the left-hander, jab of power. Cautious through the top S, doesn't hang the back out like he did earlier. Time to beat is a 24.1. He does a 24.38 this time. 142 miles an hour when he crossed the finish line. The confidence is building. So what now can Trevor Willis do as a 3-time British hill climb champion? He had some suspension problems this morning, but he's had them all sorted, and now he can commit to Shelsley Walsh. And he's quicker off the line. 1.94 seconds for those first 64 feet. The race is on between them, isn't it? S approach is 124 miles an hour for the OMS with the 3.2 litre V8 mounted behind him. The PowerTech plant. Trevor Willis crosses the line, 24.06, 24.06, 131 miles an hour over the line. Best time of day so far goes to Trevor Willis here at Shelsley Walsh in Worcestershire. Alex Summers, 2015 British champion, sits on the line with this DJ Firestorm. Brand new V8 for Alex is in the back of it. It sounds $1 million. He leaves the line in 1.95 seconds. Time to beat is Trevor Willis's 24.06. What can he do on S approach? Let's have a look. 126. miles an hour on S approach. Already through the top S he goes. Nice and neat. Now it's all about the power and the speed. Time for Alex Summers, 24.28. 126 miles an hour when he crosses the line. That's exciting hill climbing, isn't it? 24.38, 24.06, 24.28. And every single one of them crossing the line at over 125 miles an hour. Richard George with the Chevron B19, a car now from 1975, so 40 years old this year. Sorry, can't do my sums. 45 years old this year, and still a very, very pretty car to look at in the paddock, and an even prettier one to look at when it's driving up the hills, not just in the UK, but wherever it may go around Europe for those long hill climbs that they have in the Alpine countries. 34.39 for Richard George here this afternoon, 100 miles an hour as he crosses the finish line. Simon Derling with the very original Alpine leaves the line, and he leaves it well, 2.48 seconds. The Alpine, of course, it really came into the eye of the public with its Monte Carlo victories and international rally victories. Jean Todt, I believe, was a co-driver in one of these, and you know, the power of the French when they were in their pomp with the Alpine, and the whole Matra concern and Alpine, and they were winning Le Mans in the early 70s with the likes of Graham Hill back in 72, and French motorsport really hasn't slowed down since. There's always been something nice for people to look at in French motorsport. Simon, 39.01. 39.01. He did 74 miles an hour when he crossed the finish line. So that is the end of a batch here at Shelsley again. And again, thank you for your messages wherever you've been watching around the world. Here, a note from Chris Bone. Greetings from Norfolk. Great to have the live stream again. Many thanks to all concerned. Chris, thank you for taking the time to tune in, taking the time to have a look and see what's been going on at Shelsley this afternoon. And even better, we'll be doing it all again tomorrow from sort of mid-late morning, 10:30, 11 or so UK time. We will be back underway and continuing a live stream here from the Team Valley in Worcestershire. Do keep in touch with our Facebook page, which is quite simply Shelsley Walsh. It's got the blue logo with the yellow rising sun, and likewise with our Twitter page and our Instagram page. If you've been a member and you've been on the side of the hill today, use the hashtag Shelsley Walsh, and then other people can enjoy seeing the pictures that you've taken and your view of Shelsley here this afternoon. Thank you very much to everybody who has put together our live stream today. It's been a lot of work, and with the extra camera that we've had mounted at the top of the hill at the finish line, giving a real sense of speed as those cars come past, such as we saw with Sean Gould at 142 miles an hour. It's quite something, isn't it? So we hear what you've been saying on the comments on our YouTube page. Bit more noise here, bit more car noise there. Well, we'll look into that overnight and see what we can do for you tomorrow. That'll be something that we certainly take on board. Other people, they'll be going home and looking to see how their run was and how it looked, and maybe they could change their line again tomorrow when they return here. But also we've got another group of competitors here at Shelsley tomorrow who are only for tomorrow, so we'll be looking forward to welcoming them. In the meantime, it's congratulations, although it's only practice, it's congratulations to Trevor Willis for best time in practice here today, a 24.06, knocking on the door of a best time a day. Those times are a little bit slower. That might be the second page. Nigel Pitt just a little bit further down the order. But yeah, the battle at the top has been quite something, hasn't it? With Trevor Willis,
24.06. Alex Summers, sorry, Sean Gould, 0.13 of a second behind him on a 24.19. But any fettling will take place with everybody in the paddock overnight. Everybody's safe, everybody's sound, and that's the way we like to go hill climbing. We've managed to get away with a dry afternoon as well, which has also been quite lucky, because looking at the forecast this morning, it wasn't too bright. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us. We will be back here racing at Shelsley, 9 o'clock first car up the hill, and at about, 10:30, quarter to 11, before the first car will be broadcast on, again, our youtube.com/Shelsley Walsh channel. From John Moody and myself, Toby Moody, thank you very much for joining us. We'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.
You've never seen anything like it. Back into the road, coming out of camera. Back the top left hander. Let the car drive it.
Absolutely wonderful, and Junior's lost none of his style. Let's approach 124.
Absolutely textbook through the S&R.
Warm round of applause. And as I said a moment ago, we're back in business here at Chelsea.